Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is a new video related to the one I did last week about using Loveable.dev to build this digital asset marketplace. It's supposed to be an application that's similar to Gumroad that allows you to sign up and post items that you want to sell, blah, 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 blah. I'll include a link to the video below. This video isn't so much about the solution, but it's about various tools that you can use to build solutions when you're, quote, vibe coding. Vibe coding is really just a term to talk about coming up with an idea, having a concept, just sitting around and leveraging these AI tools like Bolt, Lovable, and Replit, which I'm going to show, to create applications. Like I said, I'll put a link below to kind of this application, kind of talk you through it. There's a second part of this application coming, but I wanted to touch on the tool that I kind of has become my go-to, which is Replit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how Replit works with pretty much the exact same prompt. So I'm going to copy this prompt, and I'm going to go over to Replit, and I'm using Replit Agent, and I'm just going to drop the prompt in here. So build an app that allows me to sell digital assets, blah, blah, blah. I want to integrate payment, have a UI for sellers to manage their content, I want it to provide me suggestions on UI best practices, and I only want to build out the UI first before deeper API integration. So stop building after we get a basic UI. Okay, and then now we're going to start this building. And it's going to be very similar to what Loveable did, which it's going to do some analysis, quote some thinking, and then it's going to kind of outline a plan on how to build it and then allow you to select the things that you want to work on or that you want it to focus on this first pass. So let's wait for it to kind of come back. All right, so it's kind of laid out its plan, build the first prototype. It's going to use ShadCN UI for the UI. I'm not going to integrate Stripe right now. It's going to ask for user authentication, not going to do content delivery. Let's not do any of this stuff. Let's just see what it does in the first pass, because I don't think we did user auth in the other system also. And the whole idea is to see what you get with the same prompt using two completely different tools. So I'm not going to ask for any of the other things. I'm just going to approve the plan and let it start. As you can see, it's estimating about 10 minutes to get the first version of the app built. So I'll talk a little bit about Replit, then I'll pause the video, let it build, and then I'll come back once it's done building. Let's approve the plan to start, and it's off and running. So a couple of things about Replit. Once it gets the app built, it will display what we're seeing now, this preview window where you will be able to see the app from what the UI looks like, but it also provides over here to the right. This UI is a little bit, I would say, there's just more going on in this UI than there was in the Loveable UI. But you can see if you come over here, it's got kind of the files for you to see the code that it's generating. And then if you come down here, you can see the console log for any output that's coming when the app is running. You can see it popped up here. We don't need the console log right now. This does have database integration built into Replit. We haven't got the database part yet with Loveable, but with Loveable, I believe it integrates with Supabase. This you can spin up your own database. It will be connected to this. You can also deploy it. So you can deploy the application and send the URL to other people to get access to the URL. And then here you can see all of the different tools that it has. So it's got this integration button. So you can see what other tools that are there that you can integrate with. So it's got OpenAI, all the AI stuff. And basically how it does it, very similar to other tools. If you're going to integrate it, it'll prompt you for an API key that you have to add. It'll save the API key, the secrets for you, and that's kind of how it manages those API keys. But there's some pretty good services. Stripe, definitely one we'll get to if there's a lot of interest in this. I'll go all the way through with this solution here and build out a full app the same way I'm going to do on the Loveable side. We'll definitely use Stripe here. Maybe we'll throw in some AI just to show how the AI can get integrated. It has authentication support here. I don't think we'll use their built-in authentication. I think we'll see what the agent will do for us to build out our application. Like I said, we are using a database. I'll have to take a look and see what it does for object storage, or if it's just trying to store images in a database. We won't use a key value store. So those are some of the integrations. What else do we have over here? Chat for collaboration, we're not using that. Mostly we're focusing on the agent, which is going to go off and do a bunch of things. The assistant is kind of what you use to ask specific questions about your application. So if we click on assistant, you can see here it's using Claude Sonnet, and it's for folks who have used Claude or other AI development tools with IDEs integrated, it's kind of that approach where you can kind of create context, add files, and ask a bunch of questions. Dependencies, the Git integration is something that's very nice also. I usually use it on my project after I kind of get deep into it. So what happens is that you can see here, when we don't have any checkpoints yet. Well, here it made this initial checkpoint. So every time it does a checkpoint, for lack of a better word, it's equivalent to a Git commit. So if you sync your application with a Git repo, every time it does a checkpoint, it will do a commit to the Git, to your local Git instance, and then you can go in, so that I don't have it set up yet, but you can go in and basically push. So if you are doing regular development and you do a commit locally, you have to push to get it to the remote repo. These checkpoints are, for lack of a better word, local commits, which can then be pushed to a repo. I use that a lot, just so I have another, my code copied someplace else and have a clearer understanding of what's going on, and also with just a working approach that I'm used to because I work with IDEs, I work with Git. I just like that flow. Covered. Secrets, that's where your environment variables and stuff are stored. A shell is just access to a shell in the environment that your application's running. Haven't used VNC, haven't played around with workflows, and this other stuff I haven't gotten into. That's kind of a high-level overview. You can see the app is still cranking along building stuff. We can take a look at our UI. Interesting, if you look at the UI, very similar to the one, almost identical. Let's go back here. Almost identical to the one that was being generated here by Loveable. But like I said, UI is a little bit different, but it has pretty much the same, came out with pretty much the same output. Not really too surprised by that, but let's just let it keep cranking and we'll come back to it when it's done. Okay, so it looks like it's done. Let's just kind of go back through and see what happened here. So we're going to talk a little bit about how everything works. So it looks like it took about 15 minutes. And for those who are interested, you can browse kind of back through here and see everything that it did. Like, I'm just interested by reading this. I'm a technical person. I kind of see the flow that I went through. So basically here it's saying it started the application, it found some issues, then the agent is kind of going through the code and kind of fixing things along the way. It's intelligent enough, it checks to see if there's any problems with the UI or what it's built, and then it just continues to kind of go through and incrementally add features, fix bugs that it finds on its own. And then when it's done, it kind of summarizes and tells you how far along it's come. So it says it created the structure, it's implemented cart functionality, context API, technical stuff that it's done. And then here it's saying it's found an error, because what it does is it takes snapshots of this preview so it can visually see what it's built. So here it said it's getting technical, talking about how it's running the application that was created. If we look at the code, you can see that it's created a server folder, which is the backend that's managing the API routes. You see it's registering routes. It has API routes to try to read data from the database. It's created this Express server. And then it uses this. I'm familiar with this because I've built enough apps with Replit that I kind of understand the structure that it's using. It builds this storage interface that it uses to make the calls to the API. In the shared folder, it's data that's shared between each other. It has this database schema that is created. It uses Drizzle undercover, so it uses Drizzle. Drizzle connects to the database schema, so it knows the structure of the data that's needed. So that's why I'm a little surprised that it has a database. It's created all the database backend stuff, but it didn't prompt me to create a database. So I'm not going to go that far yet because I didn't go that far in the other video, but I'm just kind of explaining what's happening in the back. So it used Drizzle, which is an object relational model, to create the database. It's using Tailwind for the styling. Here in our client directory, we can see the client application that it built. It looks like it's built probably a React with V. Yep, that's what it did, a React application using React Router. It looks like it loaded in this query provider. Now I'm getting technical for the technical folks that are listening. It's using TanStack Query. So yes, it's using TanStack Query, which used to be called a React Query. It's using ShadCN because I'm familiar with these component UI structure. So ShadCN is a Tailwind-based library. Let me just show you that. So it's using ShadCN for the UI. It comes with a bunch of different components that you can use inside of your application, and it's just picking the components that it believes it needs and it's adding them. So like the breadcrumb that you see across the top, like this, alerts, dialogues. It's basically using these components as the foundation for what it builds, then it's applying styles and additional information that it needs to build out your application. And like I said, it's Tailwind based. These files are used for how Replit configures and runs everything. And so that's what we have going on here. So let's take a look back into preview now. Like I said, this is the app that it built. It's not too bad looking. It's got a nice looking UI. Let's see how much of the pages it's generated. So I'm on the home page. So it allows you to go to specific page. That's interesting. Bad font selection. So you can see like the font is there, but it's not showing. It took a little bit of a different approach to the UI than the other one. And in fact, if I look at this UI, it looks like it's not as good as, quickly pop back. I just think that maybe I'm being kind of petty. I like this UI better than what Replit came up with. Yeah, part of it also is like they need to work on their fonts are not correct. See, I got to hover over it to see it. Over here, I cannot see it at all. But let's kind of dig in and see how far it went. Looks like it did create the detail pages. Once again, we have our same font issue. Has some description, reviews, support. Let's see how much it built. I didn't build a UI for that, but it built looks like it built up specific product pages. The pages are filtered by the type. The home, let's see what it got on pricing. Didn't do anything on the pricing page. Didn't do the about page. Kind of did this hero section that shows some stuff. Nice basic animation. It would have been nice if these buttons were active. Let's use the filter. No. I suspect a lot of this isn't working because it expected the database. Let's go to the console. Yeah, because it expected a database and there's no database run with initial data. So it's kind of interesting some of the choices that Replit made versus the choices that Loveable made. Like these must be hard-coded products that are in here that allows me to kind of navigate these basic pages. Interesting approach for the cart. Just kind of pops it over here onto the side. Little arrow there with 2 X's. Proceed to checkout probably won't work because that's a Stripe interaction. Now let's see how it does with trying to fix some of these bugs. So let's go back home. Try to keep this video short because it's more of just an introduction to get people to understand kind of what's going on. It's nice how it's got the little cart there that I can have access to from everywhere. Looks like I cannot get to the seller section without, let's see, seller dashboard. Yeah, it did put a basic seller's dashboard in here. It definitely had some problems with the styling and with colors. Because once again, fonts are missing that I'm certain are just not the right color. Let's see if it can fix that if I ask it to. Back to my agent. And let's go back to the home page because we saw it here. And so I'll just tell it. It seems like the font selection is off. In areas of application, the font is not visible until I hover. It looks like gray font color is used incorrectly. Please fix. I think overall, and I'll just briefly touch on it, but definitely watch the other video. If we go back and we look at what we got in the first pass here in Loveable, similar navigation, similar cart page. Once I think you have to agree this just kind of looks nicer. They haven't done the cart integration here, but I just think overall the UI looks nicer. It looks like it got the colors right. It filled it with enough dummy data for you to get a better feel of what your application would look like. Let's see what it did with the seller's dashboard. Definitely comes out looking cleaner. I think for our first pass, just from a UI perspective, that Loveable delivered a better product. Like I said, check out the full video yourself to interested to see what your thoughts are. Let's go back here. So it looks like it identified the problem. It started checking some of the components. It found the issue. You can see that there's several places where light gray colors are being used, but maybe too light to be visible against the background. And then now it's going around and trying to update some of these things. So we'll let it update some of these things and see how well it fixed it. So it started to make some progress here. It's giving us some feedback. It identified it, fixed the product card page, and now it's trying to go through the app and find other places where the error exists. I mean, that's one thing that I like about these agents is that they're definitely more thorough than I could be as an individual developer, or probably even you can be. So if you identify an issue, you can just tell it, hey, this is the issue I found, and go check the rest of the entire application for it. It doesn't seem that impressive when you first start, but I have some projects that have thousands and thousands of lines of code, many different screens in the UI, different modals, different card components, and to kind of go through and manually check every single one of them for the error would just be extremely time consuming, and you could use tools like this to just do it for you. Now, here's my overall statement on vibe coding and what my thoughts are about it. And I said this to someone today. I think that tools like this make good developers great developers, and it makes so-so developers worse developers. Because, well, let me take that back. It depends upon how they choose to use the tool. If they're just going to fire and forget, write a prompt, let it build, write a prompt, let it build, and never look into what it's doing to fully understand it, I think it's just going to lead them down a path of chaos. Now, that's from a developer's perspective and assuming the person's a developer. If you're a non-developer and you're leveraging these tools, the reason why I like them, because I work with some clients who are non-technical and use these tools to build a prototype. I think a prototype might be not giving this a fair shake. I think it's beyond a prototype, but I think that there are still optimizations and production-ready hardness that probably needs to be added to a bunch of these solutions before you launch. I think you can get pretty far with them. I think that it helps because the vision that the person who came up with the idea, to me, it's just manifested visually way better when that person can sit down and create it versus when they try to explain in words to you. It's better for me to see their vision in real life and then kind of polish it and address the technical stuff that they weren't going to focus on either. All right, so it looks like they've tried their best. They made some good progress, but they didn't get the main one, which is right here on the home page. I probably could have been more specific, saying right here, this font is wrong, please fix it. I left it to its own devices, and it looks like it kind of went off and did some things that I did not want it to do, but it fixed some of the problems, maybe some problems that we hadn't even noticed before, but I can definitely tell there's fonts here that are missing. Yeah, like this whole thing here. So let me show you how you might address that. See, now it's asking for a database. So let's just add the database. So you see it's now created the database. It's now creating this file that will keep track of the interface between the database and the rest of the application. It set up this Postgres database. And see the storage API that I was talking about before, now it's modifying it to use the database instead of in-memory storage. If we pop here to our database, not certain why this isn't updated yet. Let's try again. It's kind of spun up a database for us. Need to put any data in yet. It hasn't refresh. Hasn't put any data in yet, but it's still working on. It's going to create the database schema, which will then create the tables for the database. And it says now that we update our storage to the database, we need to verify the schema. So the schema is kind of the representation of your business objects in the database. So if we go down here to the shared file, now I'm getting technical, and we open up the schema here, we can see the objects that it's tracking for our system. So we have our users, our products, our cart items, orders, order items. These will be translated into tables that exist in the database where information is stored. See, so it's created the tables, hasn't kind of put anything in there yet, But it's pretty nice how it created this database structure for you. It has this integrated tool for you to do queries and browse your stuff. Depending on how technical you are, this might excite you, it might not, but I think it's pretty impressive that it's all integrated in this one browser UI. Let's go back and see what's gone on. All right, so it fixed some stuff, added a database. Interesting, it added the database. It didn't really do anything with it. But it gave me the opportunity to talk to you about the database. Let's go back and look at the application. Like, it didn't really fix the thing I wanted it to fix. So just so I can see that it actually works, I'm going to try another approach. So let's do this. I can take a picture. So I'm going to do a screenshot. I'm going to capture this area. And I'm going to drop it in here. So it has to copy the image. And then I'm going to tell it exactly what I want it to fix. I'm going to say, so we're going to copy this text. I can't copy this text. So I'll just say, there is text above, find the digital assets you need that is not rendered in the correct color. This needs to be corrected. Let's see if we can solve that one. But I showed you some of the other tools. I did mention before that this application is using Drizzle. Drizzle is an object relational model. Once again, this is for the technical folks out there. Drizzle.orm. It's a, let's zoom this in. It is an object relational model that basically sits in between your JavaScript code, which is what this is using, and your database. So it allows you to create type-safe queries, mutations against your database by just making JavaScript, using a JavaScript type SDK. I'm not going to get in much more detail than that, but because I don't want to get too technical here. But this is just to point the people who are interested in the underlying technology to kind of where it is coming from. All right, let's go back to the app. It's getting a little long here. Like I said, I wanted to keep this under 30 minutes and see what this thing has done. So based on my screenshot, I can see that between the hero section and find the feature category is very light text. So it found my problem, and looking at the structure, let's check all the components. So it's trying to see which one needs to be fixed, and it fixed it. Took a while, but it got it. Did it try to fix it in other places? Let's see. No, it looks like it didn't because it's wrong there. It seems like it's wrong here. So there's various places, but it looks like it tried to fix it. But I'll stop here. But as you can see, these are all different commits that were made. So if I go here, this is just that specific commit that I went to. But these are all the commits that were made. Since I don't have a remote database, I can't push it to it. But if I did integrate with Git, not database, a remote Git repository, if I was integrated with Git, I could then sync all these changes, push all these changes to a Git repository. My database is here, as I said. Didn't really put any items in it. Let's see, is it connected or not? Let's go to our preview and let's add a product to cart and proceed to checkout. Can't go to checkout, but it should be in cart because it's here. Once again, the highlight. Let's see, does it persist to cart temporarily? It looks like it didn't persist to cart. I would have expected that. But let me stop here. I'll treat this Replit digital marketplace app the same way I treated my Loveable digital marketplace app. If I see enough people that are viewing this video express interest, I'll continue to show more how to build this application out using Replit and highlight some of Replit's features. Same thing for the Loveable one. Once again, go check out the Loveable video so you can see the difference. Purpose of it is to just expose you to different type of tools that are out there for you to find the right one that gives you the comfort level and the results that you want. So I'm going to leave right here. Thanks again for coming by, and I will see you next time. Bye.